I've been seeing demons in their true form since I was 4.5 years old. My grandmother was raised by my maternal grandmother, who was a psychic medium. And she taught me what she could while she could. And I've been removing demons. I've been seeing them for a long time. But Michael the Archangel, when I was a child, he said, don't be afraid. He says, I'll make sure that they don't see you. You'll be able to see them, but they won't see you.
Generation X Paranormal. Well, hey everybody, welcome back.
Hey everybody.
We're Generation X Paranormal. I'm Logan.
And I'm Nicole.
So, we've had a lot of different guests.
Mm-hmm.
We've done
lots yes.
of different ones. And we've kind of covered the whole spectrum of a lot of paranormal. Except for this. And I guess mainly some of the reasons, I don't know that we've ever consciously avoided it, because I don't think we have.
No.
And in fact, it has come up a few times. It's not that it hasn't. It's just that we've never really had anybody on that we talk and kind of solely look into that.
Yes.
That happened today.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to talk to June Lundgren. And she's very interesting. And what can you tell us about June?
So June is a psychic medium, animal communicator, healer, nurse, demon seer, international paranormal investigator, and author with over 40 years of experience in the paranormal field. As a child, she communicated with spirits, animals, and angels. So June served in the military, where she trained as a nurse and an EMT. After returning from the military, she continued to work in the medical field as a nurse and is currently the founding member of ghostsandgirlsparanormal.com.
Awesome. I'm excited to talk to her. Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's go ahead and bring June on. Well, hey, June, welcome to Generation X Paranormal.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're pretty excited. So we're going to get into I like to call it the nuts and bolts, the nitty gritty here in just a minute, because we've never really we've had some guests that talk about what we're going to talk about, but never hopefully quite in depth is kind of the way we're going to get with you. So, but kind of before we get into that, I know that sounds really opaque, and we're going to get into demonology and things like that. So I want to give it its due diligence. So before we go through that, can you tell our audience a little bit about yourself?
I've been seeing demons in their true form since I was 4.5 years old. My grandmother was raised by my maternal grandmother, who was a psychic medium. And she taught me what she could while she could. And I've been removing demons. I've been seeing them for a long time. But Michael the Archangel, when I was a child, he said, don't be afraid. He says, I'll make sure that they don't see you. You'll be able to see them, but they won't see you. So until I was about 18 years old, basically, he said, I want you to observe them. I want you to learn what they do, how they work, because you're going to need it later in life. And when you're a kid, you just think, oh, okay, it's a game, so let's do it. But when I was 18 and I was in the military at the air base, was the first time I actually dealt with one of them. That was back in, 81. And so it was just kind of interesting having to deal with them one-on-one. But there were a lot of questions that I had before I started, doing removals and stuff.
Right.
I died in a motorcycle accident in 1986. I was riding my bike. Some stupid woman ran a red light and hit me on my bike. So I wasn't wearing a helmet. So I was clinically dead for about 2 minutes, went to the other side. And that's where Michael and my grandparents were. Michael the Archangel said, you're here because you need to understand who and what you are. And I'm like, dork. I'm like, yeah, I'm just me. And he's like, no, you don't understand. And then he touched my forehead and he says, "This is who you truly are." And I saw the reflection of myself. And I looked a lot like him in the way that I was like 7 feet tall, 12-foot wingspan. I had like blue-white eyes, and I looked probably about 25 years old, but 25 million years old is what I am. But he said, "This is who you truly are." He says, "You're Ariel." He said, "You were sent down, you're Ariel the Archangel, you're a demon slayer. You were sent down to live human lives, to learn to have compassion for mankind." He said, "You had no compassion for mankind." I guess he showed me what happened in 1198 AD. A woman cried out to God and said, "Help me, I'm possessed by a demon. Send somebody to remove the demon." So God sent Ariel. And Ariel knew that the woman had summoned the demon. And she was upset about that. And she reached in and she ripped the demon out of the woman, and the body died. The physical body died. And so God brought her before him and said, you have no compassion, no caring for mankind. He said, "You're going to go down and live human lives until you learn to have compassion." And that was 131 lifetimes ago. This is number 131. And
Jeez.
I think she's learned the most in this lifetime about compassion and stuff. But the other lifetimes, not so much.
Wow. That's definitely quite a lineage. That's pretty wild.
Yeah,
So,
I've seen each and every lifetime, and the deaths have never been good until this lifetime. I've seen my death in this lifetime. I'm good with it.
Wow. I can't imagine knowing that.
No, I don't know that I'd be okay with it. I don't know that I could do anything about it. But,
but I wouldn't want to know.
So, kind of taking a step back, you said your first experience was at the age of 4. I guess my question is, at 4, I'm lucky enough I could have figured out what my hand was in front of my face, let alone knowing that, something about demon or demonology. What did you, I guess basically, how did you know that that's what was happening, or did you know that's what was happening?
Well, the thing is, there's a lot of warrior angels in the world today that are in physical form. And archangels, usually they have some sort of knowledge about who and what they are. It may not be fully developed, but they know that they're different. But I was born knowing exactly who and what I was, that I was different, that I had angelic energy within me. And so my thought process was that of like a 12-year-old instead of a 4.5-year-old. And Michael told me, "Don't be upset. You're seeing them as we see them, through the eyes of an angel." So that's why you're seeing them, and that you can see them in their true form. Before I did that, I saw them as most humans do, either a black mass or a shadow person or what have you. But once that occurred, then I saw them in their true form, which is a lot scarier than anything you can think of or imagine.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm glad I don't know.
No, I'm glad I don't either. And not to make light of it, but even, you look at things like The Good Place, where the angel or the demon was had dancing uniform or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So, and when they took that off, that was pretty gross. But wow, okay. So I guess just a lot to unpack there. Okay, let's start with this. For somebody who's more skeptical, or maybe just somebody who doesn't necessarily know, what would you consider a negative entity? So we know that. So let's say, for example, somebody goes out ghost hunting. We hate that term, by the way, but paranormal investigating, and and they come across what is believed to be an entity or some kind of haunting of some sort. Especially with some of the folks that are out there that are kind of getting into this and it's pretty new to them, how can they decipher the difference between a negative entity or just I hate to think there's like a run-of-the-mill entity, but, how do you distinguish the difference between the two?
Well, there's a big difference between a demonic entity or, I call it downstairs, A demonic entity is different. It makes you feel different. If you're looking at, there are negative earthbound spirits. You know, you're nasty in life, and then you're nasty in death. You know,
Yeah.
and but those type, when it's a human spirit, you get like cold spots. You'll get the hair on your arms raising up, back of your neck, things like that. But these are all external factors. But with a demon, there are no external factors in that way. What you get is this cold feeling in your very core. It can be 100 degrees, and the inside of you will be ice cold. And then you get this sick feeling in the pit of your stomach, and the air gets really heavy. Those are all signs of something that's other than human, or it's just definitely demonic. Whether it's a creepy crawly, they used to call them imps. I call them creepy crawlies. I like that name better. Or it's a shadow person, or it's a lesser demon, or an ancient demon, or an old one. You know, that you won't find, 9 times out of 10, you won't find an old demon down here because we're not worth their time and effort. The only time you'll see them down here is if they're sent to do something. Otherwise, they don't, people talk about possession and, you're possessed and full time and all that. But they don't understand that demons do not like to be in a shell. And that's what they call our bodies. Our bodies are shells. If you've got somebody with a case of possession, 9 times out of 10, they're more out than in. They're more influencing externally rather than internally. But if you have like more than one demon, then, they can take turns coming and going, which I had a case where there was, 11 demons. It's like, okay, fine,
Wow. So, yeah, like all the big cases that you've heard about, they always list more than one. That makes sense now.
Yeah, it does.
Why there's so multiple.
Yeah, and you can't fear them. I mean, people say, well, aren't you afraid? I'm like, no. Why should I be afraid? It's like when you cannot be afraid, you cannot have any fear, you cannot have any doubt and deal with these things because they know. They'll reach right into your brain and they'll find it. And they'll use it against you. And you just can't do it. I don't fear them. And mainly it's probably because with Ariel inside me, when she comes forward, they want to be anywhere but where she is. Because she belongs to the Legion of Light, which is comprised of Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and Ariel. They are the elite demon slayers. They train all the warrior angels. So they've been around the longest of all of them. So, they fear them. But they also respect them. There is that respect. There are 7 archangels in the world today born in physical. I'm one of them, and I know where the others are. And I've met several of them. But I have a friend that lives in Glasgow, and he has Hanel, the archangel, inside of him. And Hanel and Lucifer were great friends before the war between heaven and hell. So Lucifer stops by from time to time and visits. But
Yikes, that's not a visitor you want.
No.
Well, he has manners when it comes to, visiting the living and visiting the other archangels. There's that respect. And he asked him one time, because my friend's funny. He says, he calls me Auntie Ariel. I'm like, give me a break, come on. And he says, I asked Lucifer what he thought of Auntie Ariel. And his response was, respect the assassin. And,
I like that.
That says it all. I mean, because he knows she don't mess with it. She don't like them. Yeah. Don't mess with them. People ask me, do you have a conversation with them? Why would I? They have nothing to say that I want to hear.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know that there's always also during investigations and stuff like that, there are all some other physical telltale signs, like the smell of rotten meat is usually pretty,
Sulfur.
Sulfur, things like that.
Infestation of rats and bugs and birds,
right.
Dead animals and stuff like that.
What advice would you give, or basically, how would you help investigators? Because it just seems to be that everything nowadays it's a demon. Everything,
Oh
it
yeah.
seems to be kind of a catchphrase,
Oh
and
yeah.
it's a buzzword.
Everything's a demon. It's,
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I,
And it's incredibly frustrating for folks who do, obviously they understand that there is that particular aspect
right.
of it,
Right.
but, it's just like,
It can't be every place you go.
right.
Right.
What would be your advice, or how would you frame that for some people out there?
Well, you have to take it with a grain of salt because everything is not demonic. There are true demons that are out there, but most of the time, you're not worth their time and effort. They have to have a reason for it. I mean, they look for people that are lacking in faith, people that are weak, easily led, easily influenced, people with that either grow up or in abusive situations, people that use drugs of any kind, whether it's alcohol, drugs. These are all factors that attract their attention. They look for things like that because they're your easy prey, basically.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I think that can be said about quite a few things too. Not just
Well, yeah.
demons, but intention's also a big part of it too.
Yeah, people don't understand that in the dark realm as well as the light realm, thought becomes reality, and it's the intention behind the thought that gives it power, whether it's power for good or power for bad.
Or for bad.
For sure.
And if
That makes perfect
I do
sense.
consulting for groups, paranormal groups will get a hold of me and they'll have something negative or whatever, and I'll tell them first thing, do not acknowledge it. If you think that there's something negative in there, do not acknowledge it. Because if you acknowledge it, it's like, see me, here I am. You don't want
giving
that.
it power.
Yeah, you don't want that.
Right.
You don't want them following you home like a puppy dog. And they can do that. And people don't understand they can travel through cell phones, they can travel through electrical wires, computers, the very air, a lightning storm, anything like that produces any kind of energy like that. They can travel through it. I mean, with the conversation I had with Jeff Bellinger, and we're both talking on cell phones, and here's the demon growling in his ear, Or they'll be like, I'll be driving along, and they'll be on my radio and say, I'll go to a location. They're like, you can't help them, blah blah blah. They're trying to scare me. It's like they should. Obviously, they're stupid ones because the ones that know better do not do that to me.
Sure. No, that makes sense. And it's funny, anybody who actually does paranormal investigation or even is remotely interested in paranormal has to understand that there is a flow to these things when it comes to like energy, when it comes to electrical type stuff, when it comes to frequency. Frequency is a big part of it. And I think a lot of people tend to forget that part, that while there is a woo 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 kind of thing going on, there's also some very basic, I guess some scientifically backed things as well. It's not just
Exactly.
A feeling. And on that point, so let's say, and this is again another thing that's happening a lot nowadays, with the negative entity and earthbound spirits, telling the difference between those, and then also being able to wrap up things like mental illness and stuff like that in it as well. Because there is a lot of that happening. There's, people, you can be just physically ill as you are mentally ill.
And you wonder about those cases in the past, like whether they were actually mentally ill or they were possessed. We don't know because we weren't, advanced.
It's very difficult unless you do like a test on them or something like that. But with me, it's different because I know the moment I make connection, either by email or phone, what's there and what's not there. If there's something that's not there, then I tell them straight up. There's nothing there. It's only good spirits. Don't worry about it. That type of thing. Try to reassure them.
Right.
But like I said, a lot of people will jump to the negative side of it, and a lot of it has to do with all the shows that are on TV, and which shall remain nameless. But it's like I've had there's a show that's, I think it's in reruns or something like that. And, I've worked with some of those people that have been on that show, and the person tells them, oh, you can't live here anymore. You can't do this or you can't do that. You need to get a cosmos magician, or you got to get this or that. I'm like, no, you don't. They get a hold of me. It's like, yeah, now it's gone. So you're cool.
Well, even if you move, it's going to follow the person, correct?
Right.
I mean,
Not
it doesn't matter where you
necessarily.
live.
It depends upon.
Okay.
Sometimes they're attached to the land itself.
Okay.
So it's pretty similar.
Yeah. If you move from place to place and it's still with you, then it's attached to the individual or an object that you have. That sometimes they're bound to an object, and when they're bound to an object, they can't escape. But people think, oh, they're bound to the object, they can't do any harm. No, that's BS. I mean, it's like the bomb Nagasaki. When they bombed Nagasaki, you've got the center, right, the epicenter, and then you've got all this fallout all the way around. Yep. And that's the way it is with demons. It's in the center, attached to the box or the base or whatever, but its influence reaches out it can reach out for miles,
right,
thousands of miles.
Yeah, and quite famously,
like Annabelle.
Yeah, like I was just about to bring that up with like Ed and Lorraine. I know that we spoke to Chris McKennell, and we had a pretty lengthy discussion about that. Of course, with their museum and knowing what's down there, he would say that there was a lot of stuff down there that was just, Ed finding stuff that was
collections.
That was kind of cool. But he said there were definitely things down there that were not. Annabelle, of course, being one of them. And, it's interesting because it is bound to an object, but Annabelle very famously can obviously kind of intrude into the physical life that we lead as well.
Yeah.
And you always think about how much of that is, you hear about don't look Annabelle in the eyes. Okay, well, we know that. But intention is a lot of that too. Right. So if you walk in there, you watch some of these people go in there. Tony Sparrow, of course, he walks in there and it's no big deal to him. He can do whatever he wants. Well, Tony's a bit of a different animal, I think, than a lot of people. But I think intention's a lot of it. You know.
Yeah, and having the respect for the demon. You disrespect the demon, you're screwed because they don't like it at all.
For sure.
You have to have respect.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and that goes back to so many things when it comes to paranormal, or I'll be honest with you, heck, anything in life. Yeah. Intention's everything. Yeah. If you're, kind of like you said, if you're a jerk in this life, you're a jerk in the next, probably. Yeah. Unless you figure it out. Yeah.
A lot of people that way, they'll die and then they'll cross over, but they won't cross completely. They won't ascend. So they're stuck in the physical world, and they're stuck in that physical consciousness. And so they just be nasty, or I ran into one up in Vancouver or Washington where they asked me to come up because there's this, 7-foot tall shadow person was scaring the kids in a children's theater. Well, I got there, and it's like, I can see what it really is. So it was a short, fat, balding man. Never got any respect in life, and so he was darn well going to get respect. I told him, I said, knock that crap off.
So he portrayed himself as 7 foot tall. Yeah, that's interesting.
So I'm gonna send you back to the other side. I'm tired of your messing around here.
Yeah, for sure. Interesting that we brought Chris up. There's a very famous case that the Warrens studied, and I think this had a demonic part to it, which is the Maurice Tybalt. I think I remember his last name, but it's the one where, unfortunately,
the man passed away.
Yeah, he passed away at the end, and he actually had shot his wife and some things. And I think there was a demonic attachment to that, which, if I'm wrong, I'm sure our audience will let me know. But and I think that is correct. I bring that up only to say, how does a demonic entity affect a person in the physical world to where they can actually either injure themselves or injure somebody around them?
They have a very, very successful modus operandi. They will start out with seeing, they will stalk you They can stalk you for weeks, months, days, years. And they'll watch you. They'll find somebody and they'll watch you and they'll see what your strengths are, your weaknesses are, what's important to you, what's not. And once they find that out and make the decision to either, you know, hit the pavement or attach themselves, then that's how they start out. And then they start moving things. And then they'll start talking to you telepathically and telling you, that basically they're brainwashing you, telling you you're never going to get away. They'll cause distension in the family because what they want to do is isolate the individual, which makes them more susceptible to them. So, to where you're all alone and nobody else can hear them because they don't want you to hear them until, and the person thinks they're going crazy because they're hearing voices and all this stuff is happening. And then it gets physical and they start attacking you. And like I said, they wear you down to where you can't function. It's like, the old Chinese water torture, they go at you all the time, day in, day out. And they deprive you of sleep. They enter your dreams. They turn people against you. You start having health issues, financial issues, relationship issues. This is all how they work.
Yeah. So I guess with that, and I'm going to break the proverbial bad word bubble on our show this time, but because sometimes you just need to. But there's some sadistic people out there, right?
There are.
You look at, and I was in the military as well. I spent way too long in the military, but there's those sadistic assholes out there that are just.
Oh yeah.
That's exactly what they are. Do you believe that? I guess, how do I frame this? Do you ever question yourself and you look at an individual like that and go, is that guy just an asshole, or is he got, is there something else going on? I imagine yourself would probably be able to suss that out, but I mean, are there some like telltale signs of something like that?
You'll have bouts of unsubstantiated anger, jealousy. Your whole personality will change. You've got a guy that's like laid back, easygoing, nice, and suddenly you notice that they're changing. They're starting to be very short of temper, very argumentative, very, negative in every aspect. And then you have to wonder, okay, is there something going on at home, or is there something more than that? Usually their other half will say, there's something going on. I don't know what's going on with them. There's nothing out of the ordinary happening.
Right.
This shouldn't be, That I can always tell because I just know. It's just,
right.
For me, I just know. But it's hard. But like I said, usually there's an abrupt change in personality and in the way they're acting, their mood swings, all that sort of thing. They start talking and thinking about more dark things.
Sure.
It's just...
Yeah, that makes good sense. I guess what I'm hearing is if there isn't any real reason for that change, like if you can't look in the background and go, okay, say for example, you mentioned the heavy set, guy that was balding, which unfortunately I feel that a little bit more than I want to. But, you look at somebody like that and let's say, at home they're not respected or whatever have you, whatever narrative you want to fit in that. But then they show up at work and they're just this outrageous jackass, then there's a reason. There's a cause and effect to that.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas if it's demonic or something that, or even, let's just say this for a second, kind of playing devil's advocate, which there's no pun in that, by the way. I don't know why. But so you obviously have mental illness too. You don't know for sure. Could there be, a rhyme and reason? So I guess what I'm hearing from you would be like, if you're around somebody experiencing something like that and you have the ability to I guess, reach out and kind of help them would be, hey, maybe you need to go see somebody. And if it's not somehow a mental illness or some sort of something that's happening physically within them, then that's probably the time you start going, okay, well,
Yeah, it's
what's going
usually
on?
the person closest to them will notice the changes
Right.
first,
For sure.
and they'll know is there if there's an issue. Most of the time, they know if there's
Right.
an issue. They're having a lot of stress in their life. Maybe the children are acting up, or the person lost their job, or what have you. These are all valid reasons for it.
Sure.
And so it's different when you have somebody that doesn't see them all the time or only sees them at work. They can't differentiate, whereas
Right.
the person that they live with obviously can.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, they have a lot more time with them and access to them for
Yeah.
Well, they
sure.
know them better.
Yeah.
They know the real them.
Yeah. So what would let's say you're on the other side. You're someone who unfortunately doesn't have your gifts, but let's say we're going into an investigation because we do that sort of thing, and we take some steps to kind of protect us for ourselves. But how would you recommend the average day-to-day person that is concerned about that? What steps can they do to protect themselves, and what can they, first of all, and
Yeah.
what is the best recommended way of doing that?
Well, a lot of people, you'd be surprised the amount of investigators who do not use any kind of protection whatsoever.
Hmm.
It's just like, open the door and go on in.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the best
We
ways,
see it a lot.
yeah, one of the best ways is to ask for God's protection or whatever, deity you believe in. Ask for protection, ask Him to keep you safe. And, you start with a prayer. And there's I create, Michael the Archangel, and I created a white light force field. It's like a 2-minute exercise that basically puts a force field around you and keeps out anything negative. Because remember, it's all about the intention.
Right.
And
Of
if
course.
you see anything negative, do not give it credence. Do not acknowledge it. Just move on, because the minute you acknowledge it, like I said, that makes them look at you and say, "Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
a live one." You don't want
You're a
that.
beacon at that point. Yeah.
Yeah, you're a bait. Yeah, you don't want that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
That's
and
the
you
last thing I
can
want to be.
one of the few things that will protect you is years ago God gave me a recipe for black salt that He blesses at every making of the manufacturing of it. I make it by hand, and I put some of Ariel's energy into it as well. And when you're wearing it in a necklace form, it heats up when it's working. When there's anything negative around, it actually gets almost too hot to wear because it's
Wow.
working. And you can put the black salt around your home, on the inside of the property line to seal it. The other thing is holy water. You can use it to seal the doors and the windows, things like
Okay.
that. Wearing a crucifix. Now, the crucifix has to have the image of Jesus on it, or if you're Jewish, the Star of David. It has to be
Sure.
an
Mm-hmm.
accurate representation. It can't be an abstract representation.
Right.
And again, it's all about your intention, your belief
Mhm.
in that crucifix, that it'll keep you safe and that your prayer will be answered by God. It's all, 9 times out of 10, that's what it boils down to. I've
Yeah.
had people say, "Oh, just wear a crystal." I'm like, "Yeah, how's that working for you, honey?" It don't work. All crystals do is amplify whatever energy is put into it.
Mm.
I was called in to a place up in Battleground, Washington, where this paranormal group that I know had been in, and they gave them crystals and told them to put them on the four corners of the house. And the guy did that, and through the night he was pulled out of bed and clawed, and he found the crystals in the morning, they were all broken in half. And
Oh
that's
my
when
gosh.
they called me, and I'm like, "Yeah." I said, "Because there's a demon entombed in the ground." I said, "You're never
Mm.
going to get that thing out." I said, "I need to take it away." So I went out and removed the demon. And this poor guy, him and his wife moved into the house, a new house, and within 2 years she was dead of a
Oh
cancer
my gosh.
that's so unknown. One in
Mm.
every billion, 10 billion people would get it. And she'd never
Mm.
been sick in a day in her life, but the demon was there. And she tried to tell her husband, there's something here. There's something here that's not good. There's something negative here. And her spirit was being kept there by the demon. I took a friend of mine who's an ordained minister and his wife, and we went to the location, and we started up the stairs, and I saw the demon reach into his chest and try to squeeze his heart to stop it. And then he tried to knock the wife down the stairs, and I stopped that, but it was entombed by Lucifer. It had gone against Lucifer, and it had two choices: either Lucifer kills you, or I entomb you in the earth. And so he chose the entombment instead of death.
Yeah,
that's what's under the rock in Alcatraz, is a demon, an old demon.
Oh, I'd never heard that, actually.
I haven't either.
Yeah, that's why the Indians call it the Devil's Island. That's why it always attracts demons. I removed demons when I was there a couple of years ago. But the thing is, as long as this old demon is there, entombed, it's always going to attract other demons. And I warned it. I said, you better behave. I said, I'll come back for you, and you'll be sorry.
And that kind of makes sense a little bit, So, and I guess I'm struggling to frame some things, but kind of like with entities as far as like ghosts and things like that. Oftentimes, running water, certain types of elements, earthbound elements, can amplify and sometimes even, dare I say it, manifest some things.
Yeah, because they draw from it.
Right, exactly.
They can draw from the heat. They can draw from the moving water. They can draw from stones, the very earth itself. It just depends upon if they're smart enough for it or not, if they know how to use it.
And that's pretty similar, you're saying, with some of the demons as well?
Yeah, they can.
Okay.
Demons are just, they use whatever they can, to manifest, to make themselves stronger. They use fear from people. Any kind of fear, jealousy, any kind of negative energy, it amps them up. It adds
they seem pretty
more
opportunistic.
power, to them. And that's why I know that whenever I've told a person, you know what, I'm coming. I'll come to your location. I'll remove it, because, then the activity ramps up 100-fold when they know I'm coming. It's like they're preparing, to do battle. But it's the person that ends up on the bad side of it, because they can't touch me, so they try to cause problems for the person already having the problems.
Sure.
And I tell people right away, I said, it's going to amp up. Just be aware, That's like their last hurrah, because I don't have to be there to remove the demon. I can do it from a distance. I've removed them as far away as the Netherlands and Australia. It's like, just give me a picture of a location, and I'll remove it.
Wow, what a great capability.
No kidding.
Yeah. I've probably been some places I probably could have used your help. Okay, so we're prior military folks, right?
Yeah.
And maybe this is just the way I'm going to say it, but what's the ranks? I mean, what's the hierarchy?
Oh, the hierarchy,
who's the general down to the lieutenants?
They do. They do have a hierarchy. There's Lucifer. He's the top. And then he has a first, second, and third in command. Okay, and these are usually old demons that have been with him for a long time. The old demons are the next, and then there are the lesser demons, which are the younger ones. I liken them to hormonal teenagers, creating chaos and causing problems. And then there are the shadow people, the minions, the shadow people, the creepy crawly dudes, the harpies. Then you have, harpies are kind of more like a wild card, kind of like the incubus and succubus. They do their own thing. The shadow people, they don't travel in packs. Demons travel in packs. Shadow people like their own territory. They don't want anybody else in their territory. And that's the way it is. The creepy crawly dudes, I liken them to a pimp. They go out and find the victims, Ooh, this one looks like a live analogy. This one looks like a live one. I'm gonna go tell my boss.
That's awesome.
That's what they do. I was like, okay, whatever.
For sure. Wow. Geez. Well, I guess that being said, knowing there's a hierarchy, I guess my next question is a little bit two-parter. Um, are there, so obviously symbology and numerology and all those things play a part. Now I know with people who believe in, either believe in angels as well. I was going to get that out, I promise. You see numbers like 555 and 1212, and I know that's a pretty common thing for people who are having angelic visits.
Right.
But of course, obviously, there's the one everybody knows as far as I think is for
the three numbers.
Right, the three numbers that we're talking about. But what's the same symbology on that side, or is it just that?
It's just well, basically, why do demons always knock in segments of three? It's because they're mocking the Trinity, the Father, the Son,
Right,
the
the
Holy
Trinity.
Spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And so 666 is just like double.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Double. That's all it is. It's a sign of the beast.
Right.
They don't need no signs, man. They just come on down.
Yeah. No, I mean, that makes sense. I mean, like they're going to follow any rules.
Yeah, they don't. They don't.
So, with that being said, and my other part to that is people who believe in guardian angels and people who have that I guess that belief
Faith.
structure, that faith. Does that offer them any protection? Is that something that helps them?
People ask me that a lot. It's like your guardian angels are ones that keep you on the straight and narrow, keep you where you're supposed to be going, things like that. But they don't have the power behind them that a full-fledged angel has, like an archangel or Jesus or God. They have the power to get you help if you need help. They will find a way. If a demon's bothering you or whatever, they will find a way to get you that help. Sometimes it's in the oddest ways. I have a friend of mine I've known for 7 years. I removed 5 demons from him. And he had been looking for help for years, for at least 5 years. And then suddenly, for no reason, out of nowhere, my name just popped up in the middle of his screen. Just out of nowhere. And so he sent me a message, and we've been friends ever since, just trying to keep him demon free.
No kidding.
He's like, he always tells his friends, I've got an exorcist on speed dial, and I know how to use it. I'm like,
Wow,
really?
that's
You're
awesome.
going to give me a bad rep.
Yeah. I wonder what your ringtone is.
I know, right? Woo.
All right.
Twilight Zone.
Oh,
That would
that's
be a good
awesome.
one.
Yeah.
I like that.
That's good. So, okay, so then I have this question, and I know that there's a lot behind this. This is weighty, but there are bad people, as we said.
Oh, yeah.
And are there folks that can, for lack of better words, curse somebody, bring
Hex
on
you.
right, hex you, get a demon put onto you? Well, that's terrible English, but I think
I know what you mean.
know what I'm trying to say.
The-
What's the mechanism behind it, and can they even do that?
Okay, there's no such thing as a curse or a spell as Hollywood,
Right.
Yes. Developed it. It's one of two things. Either your grandfather screwed over somebody, great grandfather screwed over somebody, and that person died and said, you know what, I'm going to curse you. I'm going to come back. I'm going to haunt your butt, and they can do it. And so they stay earthbound and they make that person's life a living hell. And when they talk about generational curses, and then they're not satisfied with just making grandpa miserable. They're going to move on to the son and the grandchild and so on until either somebody kicks their butt or they grow tired of it. Okay, that's one of the reason for this. The other is a demonic attachment. They can be generational. They have all the time in the world because there is no time on the other side.
Right.
Either downstairs or upstairs. No time.
Wow.
It's a scary thought. That's not
it's kinda
something you
scary.
want to give to your kids.
I don't know what answer I was looking for, but that one kind of hurts a little.
Well, it's
Yeah.
true though. It's like people think it's like,
Yeah.
I'm like, no, you have to understand.
Yeah.
I've had people like my friend that I cleared him all the demons and stuff, and then a couple of years later, some woman that was working for him, he owns his own business, some woman that was working for him hired a bruja to put to summon a demon and put it on him. And he found out about it, and because he started having stuff started happening again. And I'm like, all right. I said, hold on, just because I can see what's there. So I traced the person. I found the person that went to the bruja, and I found the bruja because I can trace them through energy. And I took that demon and I put it on the bruja. And I said, here you go, honey. You should know how it feels. I have no problem with doing that whatsoever. I've done it several times to people. You're going to summon a demon, you're going to pay for it.
Yeah.
Hey, bravo. I mean, I agree.
Yeah.
You know,
that's BS as far as I'm concerned. I mean, the innocent person not doing anything, minding their own business, and you're doing that, for money.
For sure.
For money.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's kind of typically what you see in a lot of these things,
But I don't mess with them. It's just like, you know what? Payback, and karma is a bitch.
It is a bitch. Trust me. We've all. I think anybody's been on the receiving end of that knows how much of a bitch it is.
And when I do it, it's even worse.
Yeah, I like that. That's good stuff.
So, what is your process? How do you get rid of them if someone's possessed or just it's hanging out?
That's the thing. When I know the Ariel comes forward, people see physical manifestations. They see wings coming out of my shoulders, my eyes turn white, and my voice changes and my face changes. So that's what freaks people out when I do it in person. But I do battle with them in a different realm of existence. It's like I don't even have to go into, like most people will go into a meditative state to do something. Okay, I don't have to do that. All I have to do is think. And I'm there, and I see it, and it depends. Sometimes I have to do battle with them. Sometimes I can just look at them and kill them. You can't, if you just I say remove, but I kill them, basically. Because if you just remove a demon and you send it back to the dark, it'll bounce. It's like a boomerang. It'll come right back, only worse.
Come back.
Right.
And so you can't do that. You have to kill them. There's no other option. And only an archangel can kill a demon. So I don't have any problem killing them. It's not my problem.
I like that.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense to me. June, I got to ask, or basically, here's the thing I like to ask of a lot of our guests, because, like I had talked before we got started, I think a lot of our audience just is looking for answers, just kind of trying to figure stuff out. What is some of the things that really bug you? Some of the things that the big misconceptions, the stuff, of course, Hollywood, we all know that's a big part of it.
Yeah, that's a big one.
But what's the you want to slam your hand on the table and go, guys, this is what's real, or this is demons in a nutshell, not that crap you guys are getting fed. What are the big misconceptions?
One of the big misconceptions is, I'm going to send you love and light. It'll get rid of the demons. Yeah, right. They're laughing. They're rolling on the ground. Yeah. Okay, that don't cut it. It don't help. It doesn't help at all. It actually stirs the demons up and makes them more pissed off. A, because they know you're trying to get rid of them. And B, because they don't want to go. And so they're going to make your life even worse. So, don't send love and light, people. I'm telling you that right now. And some people will say, well, you just lay down a line of white salt and you'll be okay. No, that don't help. If it's an earthbound spirit, it'll help. But if it's a demon, no, I'm sorry, that won't help. There's just so many things. If prayer helps, but like I said, crystals don't help. Or, the Eye of Horus, or things like that, or yelling at them, that doesn't help. They just laugh. And unfortunately, there are a lot of fake people out there, that will take your money to get rid of a demon and say, "Oh, it's done. Here it is. Give me my money."
Mm-hmm.
I don't charge for demonic removals. That's God's work. Why would you charge? But
Good
it's
point.
like, and that you have to. Another thing is you have to be nasty to get rid of a demon, or you have to be a bad person to have a demon attached to you. But that's not true. You can simply be in the wrong place at the right time. It happens quite often.
Yeah.
Or they'll jump from one person to another. It's not because you're bad. That's the first thing people think of. Oh, what have you done? It's all your fault. When you have nothing, absolutely nothing to do with anything. Granted, there are those people that I've run across that have summoned the demons and then asked for help. And I'm telling them, yeah, how do you like it? Because, it's going to last for a long time unless I remove it. And you better not do it again, because I'll know.
That's scary.
Well said.
Yeah.
Well, I think in closing, what are some of what can our audience do to kind of reach out to you if they've got any other questions, or is there anything that you offer to them that they can kind of either go to a website or something to kind of get a hold of you?
They can go to my website to get a hold of me, because there's a contact page there. If they have a problem, that's where a lot of my stuff comes from. Well, people will get a hold of me from my website, which is mysticconnections.org. And I'll take care of it. Sometimes it takes me a while to get there because I work 12-hour days, 5 days a week.
Yes, we know.
So it's like, but I get to it. When I did Coast to Coast last January, I had 300 requests in 1 week.
Wow.
That's scary.
That you're right. That, first of all, it's amazing that many came through, and also that there were that many people that needed help.
Yeah, but of those 300, what ended up being, how many were demons that you actually had to get rid of, as opposed to just about them being haunted?
250.
That's still an incredible amount of people.
Huge. Yeah, that's a lot.
Wow.
People don't understand that it's more common than people think, and it doesn't have to be written up in the Inquirer, for God's sakes.
Right.
I asked Michael one time, the Archangel. I said, Michael, what's up? I said, why does a Catholic priest take years, weeks, months to remove a demon? I don't get it. I don't understand when it takes me a couple minutes. And he says, A, they don't have an angel inside of them. And he says, and B, they have some form of doubt, whether it's doubt in themselves, in the process, or, like, I don't know if I can do it, that type of thing.
Right.
Or if they lose faith in themselves as well. You can't do that. If you have any doubts, those demons will reach into your mind, and you'll never, ever be able to get them out.
I could see that.
Yeah. I mean,
facing something like that is scary.
Yeah.
At least for us normal humans.
And they're trained, but training can only do so much,
Right.
There is that unknown. There is that fear of these things. And that's why I tell people, I said, you cannot have any fear, because they know it. They reach inside of you and they'll pull it right out of your brain. I said, you can't do that. I've had 2 people in my lifetime, 3 people, want to see what I see, because I have the ability to let them see what I see. One of them was Zach Bagans, and he regretted it, basically. The other one was my friend who's the ordained minister. And he's like, I never want to see it again. Thank you. And a friend of mine who was a medium, he wanted to go with me on a removal. And I said, well, and then he decided he wanted to see what I saw. And then when these 2 demons come running at him, they dropped my hand, and he didn't see anymore, and he didn't want to see anymore. And that's a good thing.
That's terrifying.
That is terrifying.
Yeah, because when you see a demon in its true form, the things, they're about 7 feet tall, they're shades of black and gray, but it's the eyes. The eyes have every atrocity, every evil that you can ever imagine, 1,000-fold. The old demons have golden eyes. The younger ones have the red ones. But you'll never be the same again if you look in those eyes. I mean, I've seen them forever, so I don't pay no attention to them. But, and that's how I tell people, if it's really an earthbound spirit that's wanting your help, then look at the eyes, because the eyes will be the same colors they were when they were in the living. They won't be black, they won't be red, they won't be gold. But people look at the overall image instead of looking at the eyes. The eyes always gives them away. Sometimes they're black as well, so it just depends.
That's super profound,
well,
too.
I had an experience when I was a child in my bedroom, and it was in a house that was extremely haunted. At the time, my mom thought it was evil. And both her and I she didn't actually. I think it was my grandmother at separate times saw something with red eyes. Mine was in my closet, and it represented like my aunt's face.
Oh, yeah.
And it came flying out of the back of the closet at me, smiling, but then the smile turned into like a evil grin with red eyes.
Yeah.
And that terrified me. It's what, basically why I'm in this line of work podcasting, because you can't forget something like that.
Yeah, well, you had a dark portal in your closet. Dark portals are something that only the dark ones can come and go into our world with. And you'll find them in closets, you'll find them in people, you'll find them in inanimate objects, in a mirror, in a picture. I mean, they're everywhere. So I have to go close them.
Yeah, I mean, my mom always felt it. Like, we always knew there was something evil in that house.
Right. Yeah, you guys always talk about that.
Yeah.
Well, June.
On that note.
Yeah. Wow. What a great conversation. Thank you. We really appreciate you kind of giving us the kind of the 101 schooling of it, because it is true, and there's a lot of folks out there who follow paranormal, and
there's so many misconceptions about it, made up stories, and so you never really know.
Right.
Yeah.
And you can't accept the fact that I'm always troubled a little bit by people who say, well, I don't accept the other side, that there could potentially be demons and demonic. Yeah. And you always say to yourself, well, look, if you're going
good,
right, if you're going down that road,
right,
exactly,
there's yin and
you got to be,
I mean, the good and the bad.
Yin and yang.
You have to have that balance,
Right.
I ran into someone who told me that he's never run into anything negative, and there's no such thing.
No.
And I said,
there's not even that in the real world.
I said, wait for it. And he went to Egypt and ended up with a demonic attachment when he came back.
That's scary.
It's like, oh, but they don't exist. Okay.
Right.
Don't ask for my help then.
I know. That's the first thing that happens is people.
Sorry, can you help? No.
Right. I know, right? It's like, really? Okay, whatever.
Well, June, we will look out if we run into problems. We've got your contact information. I will definitely reach out to you. But listen, thank you so much, and
appreciate you.
We appreciate it, and we look forward. Hopefully, we'll have you back on, and if we can talk about some other stuff too.
Yeah,
so
just give me a shout. I'll do it.
That sounds great. Thank you so much, June. You have a great night.
Okay, you guys take care of yourself.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, kind of a lot to unpack there.
Yeah. I mean, some of it I had heard before.
Yeah.
But you never know, like, what's Hollywoodized compared to what's true.
Yeah, I mean, so here, listen, guys. There's a lot to unpack. We get it. There's a little bit of belief structure. Some people have different beliefs. This is just one of those things where we very consciously knew this would be one of those episodes where it might ruffle little feathers in some people, and it may anger some. And for those folks, we apologize. It was not meant to cause any issue, but
no.
I kind of said in the episode where if you're going to go down the road where you're understanding the paranormal and you're researching it, or if you're out there trying to investigate, you've got to know that if you're going down that road, that there's another side of that road.
There is, yeah. I mean, there's evil. There's negative. We know this.
Oh, yeah.
If there's positive and good, there's negative and bad.
Yes, there are.
Now, what's involved in all that? Nobody specifically knows for sure.
Right.
That's why we talk about it. That's
Yeah.
why we investigate. That's why we do these things.
That's why, yeah.
And we won't truly know until we're there
Yeah.
on the other side. So,
Well,
what do you guys think?
Yeah.
What is your opinion?
and
It terrifies me a little bit to think all that's 100% true.
Yeah, I mean,
But I mean, with my own experience
Yeah.
and what my family's experienced, I know that feeling. When she was talking about the feelings that you get,
mm-hmm.
I've experienced a little bit of that. So I'm not, I mean, I don't know. It gave me the feels. Let me say that. And I don't ever want to experience that again.
Oh, yeah.
I will say, as a child, knowing what that feeling's like, if I walk into a place and I feel that same feeling, I'm walking right back out.
Yeah.
Because I thought that, for me, it was normal at that age until we moved to a different place. And I was like, why do I not feel that way anymore?
Yeah.
And then in college, I lived in a place that had something more than negative in it. I'll just say that. There was experiences there, which someday we'll do an episode and talk about all those things.
Yeah.
And I felt that feeling again. And I recognized it for what it was like immediately. And when you feel it, you know it.
Yeah.
It's like getting on a bike again. Like you just automatically know how to do it. All of a sudden, you automatically feel it. You automatically know what it is. I don't like it.
No.
If I feel that walking in somewhere, I'm walking out. It's not happening.
I would agree.
It's scary.
I agree. Guys, you tell us. It's your show too. Let us know what you think. info@gxparanormal.com. Leave a comment, or if you're listening on the podcast, reach out. Let us know. It's just as much driven by us as it is by you. Mm-hmm. And on that note, guys, we will see you next week.
See you next week.